The rule of thirds is a basic principle of film composition and is often used as a starting point for many directors and directors of photography when they're prepping their shots. It's a fairly simple compositional rule, and in this tutorial we'll look at how it is constructed, the effect it can have, and how you can play with it and even break it in your future filmmaking. To apply the rule of thirds to film composition, you should first get used to seeing the frame as broken up into a 3x3 formation. This creates 9 individual segments in your shot composition. The director will then place objects of focus or interest along these guidelines. For example, if you had a close-up of someone's face, you'd be aiming to place their eyes, which we naturally gravitate to, along the top third line. However, it isn't just a case of placing the character's eyes on this line. If a character is looking to the right, then you want to place them opposite to the point where their eyes appear to be looking. Here. This creates a sense of graphic balance in the frame that's visually pleasing on the audience's eyes. It's a comfortable and compositionally coherent look for a shot. And if you're struggling in the early stages of your film work to frame subjects and objects, it's a good rule to stick to. It also works just as well for objects and buildings as it does for people. Once you know the rule, however, you can then play with how a character or object is framed in its environment and create a different effect and meaning within the frame. This shot from the King's Speech, for example, does appear, to an extent, to stick to the rule of thirds. However, the choice of placing him on the bottom of the frame is a graphically unbalanced one. The rule of thirds does get broken slightly, in that he is placed on the left, but is looking off to the left. The traditional rule of thirds would usually place the king over here on the right, so that his sight line is directed over here to the left, and this would create, for the viewer, a more graphically balanced and compositionally coherent shot. The overall effect is for an imbalanced and slightly uncomfortable composition, and the audience can feel how uncomfortable the king clearly is in himself and the world that he lives in. It is at this point that you should be really starting to see that film is a visual medium and that it is the composition of the shots that can add weight and meaning to a character, building, objects, and general environment. As ever, folks, the choice to stick to the rule of thirds, or break it, comes down to having a good idea as to what your material is about and how you would like your audience to read your scenes visually. Thanks for listening. See you in the next tutorial.